Hello and welcome, dear listeners and navigators. This is Remo with you again and continuing with our fourth season. Also, continuing in the same vein as we started this season, which is parapsychology, and I guess could be classified as paranormal phenomena or part of it, which also, at least in my opinion, has to do or will have to fit into the new paradigm that we are talking about and exploring on this podcast and with this group and community. So today I have with me fresher core member of New Paradigm Navigators. Hello, Emiliana.
Hi, I'm Emiliana.
Really glad to have you. I'm a big fan already.
Thank you for having me.
So today we're just gonna have a conversation and I just wanna know about your kind of story, your journey, how you stumbled into this field, maybe what are some of your personal experiences that have to do with this, if you're willing to share, and yeah, your interests, what you are researching, which is actually, spoiler alert, really interesting and really on the topic. I guess I can say it, and we can circle back to it, I guess, deeper later, which is after death communications and specifically in children. Am I right?
Yeah, exactly.
And that's part of your doctoral research, right?
Yeah, that's my doctoral thesis is I'm looking at after death communications that occur in childhood.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, I'm excited to hear more about that. I know it's still ongoing. It's not kind of finished, so maybe you can't draw some very specific conclusions yet, but I hope you can share some of the findings so far.
Yeah, definitely. I still
Yeah.
have like a year and a half to go. I'm about halfway done. I I have some results back from a survey that we did, so we can talk about that.
Well, what I really like about that particular topic after death communication is that it's so universal, so frequent experience, kind of not intercultural but transcultural, you know,
Mhm.
and I mean, at one point we all lose someone close, and have to deal with the fact in terms of grieving and kind of also existentially, to put it somewhere. And among that whole process, it's quite frequent. You can, of course, tell me any numbers or correct me if I'm wrong, but it's really frequent for people to hear, from their deceased loved ones, close ones, in one form or another, and the kind of um, message or the language how they speak is also really varied and rich and interesting.
Yeah, it's so common. About 80% of the bereaved population experiences at least one ADC um, in their life. And it's interesting looking at children's experiences because most of the time, like they're not bereaved and they also don't have like that social stigma around these experiences and they don't have that cultural understanding as well. So it's been really cool to look at the experience in its purest, most raw form because these children, they don't have those years of growing up being like, oh, like this is has a certain type of filtering over it from either like how they were raised or like the culture that they're in. So it's been exciting to read about that. And yeah, it's very common. It's more common than people think.
Would think, right? Yeah, because we don't, like you said, it's a bit taboo, these topics overall, so we don't talk about it as much. But also my kind of friend that passed on, it's not ADC he had, but he had the experience of terminal lucidity with his aunt, which is kind of related, that his aunt was really kind of degenerating neurologically, and wasn't able to communicate for almost a year already, was like totally bed sick. And just before she passed on, she became lucid, and I think had like a really, really nice and proper kind of conversation with him, my friend, for about 2 hours or so. They just, talked about life and the past, and then a few hours later, after he had left, she passed away. But before we jump into your research, would you be so kind to share how you got into this field, and later like into this maybe specific topic or parapsychology?
Yeah. So I'm getting my PhD in England right now, but originally I'm from Las Vegas, Nevada. And there I got my bachelor's in criminal justice, and then I got my master's in forensic psychology. And after that, I was like, okay, what do I do now? And some friends of mine, they were working at a youth mental health foundation, and they asked me if I wanted to work there as well. I was just doing social media for them, but they just really focused on giving like mindfulness tools to youth who were suffering from like depression or anxiety or suicidal ideation. And just to see the transformation in those children from being at their lowest to then like going to Stanford and like growing up to be these like amazing, beautiful, positive, loving humans, just from like meditating, journaling, positive social interactions. That's really all they did, was mind-blowing, and the work they did was amazing. And I am really grateful that I was able to work there it was just a short amount of time. But yeah, so that's where I was like, okay, I want to work with children, because they do have all these beautiful experiences. I feel like we don't really give children the credit that they deserve. They're very smart. They're full, able beings, and they are able to have these spiritual experiences as well. So that's where that came from, was my experience working at that mental health foundation. And then as I was working there, I also was getting more into meditating, getting more into my own spirituality. And through my own spiritual journey, I kind of like opened up the floodgates, I guess, to kind of like my abilities, like my extrasensory perception abilities. And it was beautiful, but at the same time, it was kind of scary because I didn't know when I was like dreaming or awake, because things that would happen in my dreams would then happen in my waking life. Yeah. So in transpersonal psychology, call it spiritual emergency. So I was having one of those. I didn't realize it because the people around me, like I just never learned that was even like a thing. So
you had no context for those
no
experiences.
context. Yeah, I was just like, every morning I'd wake up and I'd be like, oh my gosh, is what's gonna happen in my dream gonna happen tomorrow, or by like whatever. So a tip I learned was that if I type on my phone, I would always type my mom's phone number because her phone number is super easy. So if I would type on my phone and the numbers wouldn't be the number I pressed, I was dreaming. And then when I was awake, if it was the number that I pressed that popped up, and I was like, okay, cool, like I'm awake. So that happened to me for like a year, about, where I was just like getting a lot of information. So then I was like meditating, and I just asked my guides was like, okay, like how can I, because I didn't want to turn it off. I didn't want to shut it down. It's like, okay, how do I channel whatever I'm going through? And then I would just see like Reiki energy healing everywhere. So I was like, okay, I need to get attuned to Reiki. And then I remember one time I was like walking to a yoga class and then I left, or like right when I got out, I had a message from a Reiki master who I was in contact with. And she was like, hi, are you ready? Like to get attuned and go through the process. And in that yoga class, her name like popped into my mind. And I was like, yeah, that's a sign. So I got attuned to Reiki, and through that, it really helped me like manage my visions. And
Mm-hmm.
with that, I also was able to connect with deceased people. And I was kind of like a medium through like whoever my client was. If they had someone who like had a message to come through, I would see them and like tell the person like whatever their deceased loved one was like wanting to tell them. Um, and that I was like, what is going on here? And with my educational logic mind, I was like, is this normal? Are other people experiencing this? Like, what's going on? So then, as I was doing more research into it, I stumbled across parapsychology and learned that there's scientific research about it and that these experiences are normal and common and beautiful. So then from there, I contacted Professor Chris Rowe, who's my supervisor now, and here I am. So that was kind of long, but that's how I got
Not
here.
at all. It was really fascinating. I had no idea, well, we haven't talked about this before and yet about this. But wow, like real mediumship. So you're a pro. You have a professional experience in the field.
Well, I don't, because I always say like it's not me, like
Yeah.
it's all, so I'm just a vessel being channeled for however I am needed. Um, but yeah, and it was also cool because at first my family, they like, I would be like, oh, like something's gonna happen tomorrow or something's gonna happen, and like they wouldn't listen to me. And then after things like, I remember one time, this is like where things switched. My sister and like some of our friends, we were going on a road trip. And the night before, and then the morning of, I was telling everyone, I was like, my sister Jennifer, I was like, Jennifer should not drive. I have a bad feeling. Jennifer shouldn't drive. Something's going to happen. Can someone else drive? And they were like, no, it's her car. She's going to drive. And I'm like, okay, but she shouldn't drive. And then an hour and a half into the drive, she runs over a pipe and her gas tank splits open. And I was like, I told you all, like, I knew Jennifer, I knew she shouldn't have driven, like, something bad was going to happen. And after that, now everyone believes me and like they're listening to me and stuff. But for that, I was just like the crazy lady. I'm still kind of the crazy lady, but I like it.
Now you also get paid for it, certified crazy lady.
Yeah, and I can be like, hey, well, this scientific article says this. So I'm backing it up with facts. Which is fun.
You bring receipts.
Yeah, I bring their seats off of Sage Publications. Mhm.
I had a precognitive dream also. And I had a certain opening that I also kind of sought out. Also kind of to do with visions,
Mhm.
maybe more on the artistic side or kind of on the creative side. And that, like, I got it. I kind of opened myself after a certain retreat and practice. But I also didn't have like a proper container. I'm not sure in which sense. Maybe in the form of a practice, maybe in the form of a life how my lifestyle was. But then it was, I also couldn't really contain the experience. So for me, it was, I could close eyes and basically see visions, or like kind of these living tapestries of basically the stuff that artists kind of capture or kind of kill onto the canvas, in the sense that it's kind of becomes like a freeze frame of the actual living thing. And it was really fascinating and amazing. But at one point, I'm not sure what happened. Maybe the setting I was in was wrong. I was at the festival grounds, a really big festival, and I became a little bit psychotic. Not in the sense that kind of outwardly psychotic, that I would kind of, not make sense or start to speak gibberish or kind of go crazy, but inwardly I was feeling myself like kind of losing myself and like kind of being ripped apart, or I can't really describe it. It was kind of like I don't know, kind of a psychological panic attack, for which a physical kind of response followed. I got a really high fever, and then for 48 hours or so, I thought I was actually gonna die. So I also had kind of a spiritual emergency, but it was really like I don't know, really abrupt, really fast, really kind of short, short-lived in a sense. And after that, I also kind of closed that channel, just to kind of reflect or echo that this experience, even when it's like intentional or unintentional, it can be really destabilizing, and even if it's kind of positive and awesome, even it's really hard to anchor that unless you have some kind of context or readiness for it in your life. So that was my experience, but really cool to hear about yours. Has that your research and the work you're doing now, has that given you some grounding in that kind of open channel kind of living?
Yeah, just to know how common these experiences are. And just knowing that like there are gifts that are given to us, and everyone has these different abilities, and it's just a part of being human, I think. And whether people decide to open their abilities up or just like not have that, is I think what's the most like grounding about it, to be like, okay, cool, like I have a community who also has gone through this, and like we can talk to each other about it. And there are people who are dedicating their lives to studying this. Really helps, because like that's what helped me, was going online and looking up like the science behind it. Because that's what I wanted. Like you can read a bunch of like spiritual books or like mental health or mindfulness books, and like they help, like I love them, but I just needed to know like the logistics behind it. That's
It's also the science, the kind of objective reality. It is kind of extraction or condensation of these experiences, and it does give kind of validity and grounds, and also logic, also kind of cautionary tales. Perhaps it packs a lot inside of itself. It isn't just some data or some kind of dead thing. You see that it is a real community, it is a real phenomena, it is part of human experience, like you said. And I really like what you said about those experiences, that they're normal, they're frequent, and they're also beautiful. I think each of these is really important. And what we also see in the scientific and medical network, it's a little bit easier now, although not kind of solved, but especially for older people, like this was not only a taboo, it was like a stigma,
Yeah. Uh,
because not only are these experiences inherently kind of maybe not psychotic, but making you think that you are going crazy, uh, as these, opening channels can be, like kind of like you said, mixing even dream and waking realities. They're like inherently like crazy inducing, or kind of give you a crazy vibe. When you also get that reflected back to you from the outside, that you might actually be crazy, that you might actually be locked up if you even dare speak about these things, or if we go back for a few centuries, burned at the stake, that's
yeah.
that's traumatizing and then scary. But what then the people or the community in SMN kind of say or share is that finding this community and being able to speak about these things and share these experiences precisely heals us and people, in just normalizing these experiences or this part of human reality.
Yeah, definitely. And like most like all of the experiences across the board, obviously like there are some negative ones, but most people really cherish these experiences. They remember them for a long time, and there's something that are it's super personal to them. And just like hearing people's stories and getting excited with them about like what they went through is also just one of the best parts about it, because a lot of people don't talk about their experiences because yeah, like it's taboo, or maybe like it doesn't fall in their religious framework or their cultural framework, or like they've told someone else and they've been called crazy when they're not, or just a bunch of things to make them kind of like block off these conversations. So
Mm-hmm.
just like having an open space to just share our stories because they're so special, um, is just so amazing as well. And like it's probably one of the best parts about even doing this research, because right when I tell anyone like what I'm doing, most of the time, like 90% of the time, it's like, oh, can I tell you about an experience, like something that happened to me? And I'm like, yes, tell me everything. I'm here for you. How cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I kind of look at it from this re-enchantment word or thing also. For me, it was just this kind of sadness of losing magic, growing up, and then, regaining it through some experiences, and later like secondhand experiences, and then again kind of coming to my own practice and then going deeper with it. Um, like you said, they're beautiful and also really reassuring. Like they're what faith is made of, really.
Mm.
I mean, there are many layers and aspects to faith and devotion, of course, but these are like what religions have started out of, probably, and what keeps religions and faith and spirituality alive, because it's actually real, and people who have had deeper experiences, they usually also say that it's more real than real. There's
Mhm.
there's a depth to the reality deeper than this even physical reality. So yeah, like reassuring, like especially your topic also, ADCs, after death communications. It's one of our like core fears of being embodied, incarnated, of dying and disappearing, as well as maybe even more so losing other people and fearing that they have disappeared. That fear has hurt and broken a lot of people, and when that simply isn't the case, I'm not going to argue for, I don't know, reincarnation or lives between lives and so on, although they are their own distinct topics with their own kind of libraries of experiences. But just to say that, death is not the end. Like, we can say one thing for sure, that there is not nothing after death. Sure, we can argue about which heaven or hell or experience or place you go to, but or how it happens and then what happens. There's interesting stories there, but it can be so like importantly reassuring for people to know that there are these accounts and experiences and even researchers getting paid to look into these issues, and should be paid more, if you ask me.
That's funny. But I feel like the shared experience of either like near-death experiences or after-death communications, just knowing that the personality lives on forever and like our souls are infinite, even though like our bodies are finite, and knowing that I will be connected with my loved one again. And ADCs, whenever someone, a majority of the time, I don't want to say always because that's not the case, but a majority of the time when someone is bereaved and they do have an ADC, their grief, they get, it like propels them into finding closure in that experience. Like, obviously, losing a loved one, it's never going to go away. People are going to feel that pain with them, like probably for their whole life. But just knowing that your bond is going to continue with that person, that you will be with them again, and that they're okay and they're in a better place, helps so many people. And there's so many studies on this as well, showing how they really help people. Like, they're not a scary thing. Like, I feel like movies and TV shows and different media, they portray like sees and like ghosts, like super scary and always in a dark attic basement, and they're supposed to scare you, and that if you see one, it's not okay. But it's like the complete opposite. People typically don't feel scared. It's like 10% of people feel scared, which isn't a lot. And the rest of them are so happy, and they feel bliss and love and warmth, and just knowing that their loved one is okay and that they're going to see them soon.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you perhaps see the latest Peaky Blinders movie, The Immortal Man?
No.
All right, it was really good, but it just really coincides. There's also the female actress is a witch and but also a channeler, also like who speaks with the dead people, and for the main actor, Cillian Murphy there, she brings like a story and closure and also kind of invitation, basically to the other side. It's a really, really, really well written story, but
Watch it.
but also plays with this idea, and for me it was also not just interesting and thrilling, but also really beautiful that, well, for him that was basically closure for his story. But you can have your kind of lover, come through another person and basically invite you home. It's quite beautiful, and also, for many people to not just find, well, there are so many interesting stories, not just find closure or kind of, I don't know, faith or reassuring. I also quite recently heard a story of woman starting a book with like a friend, researcher, I think also, and then the friend died, passed on, but the book was left unfinished. And so I think almost like a decade later, this friend comes through I don't remember if it was like through channeling or like dreams or something, but basically coming back to her and telling that, hey, we have a book to finish.
Oh.
And then they legit finish the book. She basically starts channeling and writing her part of it. So it's
Oh.
there are like stories like that also, which is just amazing, or people, well, some are like actual communications or through kind of touch or words, whisperings, or writings, or even technology.
Yeah.
But some are also like kind of poltergeist, like things happening, some lights breaking or instruments breaking or things shifting around or things appearing. There are like so many different ways of how, the dead communicate.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was also interesting to look at, like when I was like as I'm doing my research, because in adults, the main way for or modality of communicating is through dreams. But with children, it's always visual. They always, not always, I don't want to say always, but like 80% of the time, they like see the deceased person. And it's like more like conversational, um, rather than adults, because adults, it's more of them, the deceased coming in the dream, giving them a message.
Mm-hmm.
It's not really like that back and forth. Sometimes it is, but yeah, like children's experiences are more vivid and a bit more intense as well, than adults, which is pretty interesting because you would think that they would have like the same modality. Um,
Capacity.
yeah, and may not capacity, but like when I was going into the research, I was like, okay, like adults have mainly dreams, so I feel like children would mainly have dreams because that's just how adults are, and like typically like the experiences like line up, um but it was like the complete opposite because adults, we typically don't see like apparitions. Like when people have an ADC, like the lowest one was visual. um so it's just like interesting how it's flipped. So it's like what do
Mm-hmm.
children see that we can't?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which is a
Fairies
whole
and all
other
that stuff.
question, but yeah.
Yeah, do you want to share a few experiences that kind of come off the top of your mind, that you heard about, or maybe even had in your own life, if you, I don't know, were channeling or um, helping other people?
Most of my experiences, because I've had a couple, are from my grandparents who've passed away. Um,
Mm,
and it's always in a dream. I used to smell. I also like thinking back on it, because my grandma passed away like when I was a kid, like young. I think I was like 12, and she is Italian, and she'd always make sauce on Sundays, and it was her recipe. Italians are very, their sauce is their sauce or their gravy, whatever they want to call it. But I would smell, I would like be in my room by myself and I would like smell her sauce. Um, so, and I would always think of her. So I think that was probably like one of my first like after death communication experiences was smelling her sauce. Um, and then yeah, I have dreams, or I would have dreams about my grandma for a while. And then one of the last dreams I had about her, I remember she was like eating dinner at a dinner table, and I was looking at her and I knew that she was passed away. And I didn't want to ask her why she was there. I was like nervous. And at the very end of my dream, I went up and I asked her, I was like, Grandma, like, why aren't you in heaven? And then she said that she didn't want to leave without making sure that we were okay. Um, and then
sweet.
I know. And she was like the epitome of like a movie like a grandma in a movie. Like so much food for dinner every night. Like she was the sweetest human ever. She would always like make everyone feel comfortable. So in my dream, like it really matched up to like who she was as a living being. But yeah, the last time I had a dream about her, I was like, no, like we're okay, and like you need to go to heaven. And then after that, she like went into a white light, and then I didn't really have a dream about her. I had like a couple dreams, but after that, in my dream, I like knew I was like, okay, like, she's in heaven now. Um, but the bright light thing is has been a theme that's I'm doing thematic analysis on childhood cases right now. Um, it's adults remembering their
Mm.
experience. And a big theme that's coming up in childhood is that they always, again, not always, I say that, but a lot of the times, um, they see their deceased loved one like in a really bright light.
Mm.
And sometimes, or all of the times that I've read about, the child's completely awake. They're not dreaming. And they just say that they're sitting there and then everything went black, but they weren't scared. They always want to say, I wasn't scared when it went black, which is interesting because like when you're 5 or 6 and like a room just turns black, I would be scared, like you'd think. But these children say that they're not scared, and then they see a really, really bright light and it doesn't hurt their eyes. Bright golden light. And then they always say that they feel immense love, bliss, and that they've never been able to feel that kind of love after that. And then their deceased is in that bright light, um, which is pretty spectacular, if you ask me. Because
Mhm.
when you're a kid, like when you're 5 or 6, like you don't really, you can like grow up in a certain religion but when you're 5, like you don't really understand it. Like when you're that young, it's kind of hard to conceptualize, like, oh, like my deceased grandparent like is in the bright light and and they're full of love and light and whatever, but it's happening. And they're gaining some kind of the child they're like gaining some kind of knowledge from that experience, um,
Mhm.
which is also pretty cool.
Yeah, with grandparents, I also had a really beautiful experience in a dream. I lost both my grandmothers 8 years ago. Well, in the same year basically, and I didn't get the proper closure, and especially with one of them because I grew up with her my like childhood summers, spent a lot of time with her, and I was really sad about it, and I didn't even remember what was happening around that time in my life. Well, besides like doing therapy and other things like schools that I was doing. Um, and I saw her in my dream, and it was really like I just basically hugged her and thanked her, and and it was so powerful, like emotional release. It was like really, really beautiful and deep and like integrating. I don't know, not just reassuring or kind of yeah. It was really beautiful, and that was I even like woke up from the dream just thinking that wow, I'm so thankful for this.
Mm.
Like thankful for her for coming and but also like for having the possibility of this happening, for being able to meet her in the dream and thank her and kind of send her off or let her go. Um yeah, I don't remember anything around it, like any details, any like lights or any tunnels or anything, just the fact of it happening and the powerful like emotional release.
Mm. That's beautiful, thank you.
But yeah, children are like I'm really excited to hear from my children now, growing
Mm.
up and getting to that between 4 and 6 kind of
Oh,
prime
yeah.
time. And
Yeah.
then just kind of also encouraging them to share more and maybe spend more time in nature or in places where that happens more naturally to kind of hear what they are experiencing and seeing and hear about their imaginary friends and so on, dragons and elves.
Yeah. Yeah, it's it's really cool because a lot of my friends are now mothers, so they have little babies, and a couple of them, they know what I'm researching, and they're like, my daughter has an imaginary friend and she's calling her a ghost, and I don't know if I should be scared. And I'm like, no, don't be scared. I'm like, it's pretty, her baby is like young, like I think she's like 2, and I don't think that she's even heard the word. She might have heard the word ghost, but I'm like, that's pretty, and like that's pretty interesting how your baby is saying, oh, like the imaginary friend is a ghost, because that's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like for a 2-year-old, like that's pretty,
Specific, eh?
yeah, like high knowledge for them. But yeah, so it's been fun like hearing my friends' stories as well. Um, and just being able to also give them the comfort of knowing that that's okay, and not pathologizing their experience. And that's also like what I hope for this research to do, is to be a guide or an aid, or just like a piece of comfort for parents to know that if their child is saying that they're seeing their dead grandma,
Mm-hmm.
and that's okay, because they're probably just coming to check up on them and
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
play with them and make sure that they're okay.
Say
um
hi for me, you know.
Yeah, exactly. And like their child, like there's nothing wrong with their child for seeing or playing with someone who's not there, because imaginary friends, those are super common. There's no stigma, totally okay. But then like when people start bringing in the like the vertical information, like the information that the child shouldn't know,
Mm-hmm.
and that's when people are like, I don't know about that. But it's like, no, it's okay. There's nothing wrong. And it's a beautiful moment. And
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
hopefully some message comes through that will help you, the parent, as well. But yeah, so that's what I'm also hoping, is to help out people who are going through that kind of experience and they don't know what to do. Because it's totally okay.
Yeah, that's part of our mission as well, or core part of it, to really normalize these topics and conversations about them and just overall, learning from them and sharing the wisdom and wisdom of the beauty of these experiences and how to also kind of, you know, make them maybe not practical, but well, for me, one mission I set out to do with my thesis for my master's was to, build my own philosophy and build it from ground up and build it from my own embodied experience. And in that case, like all of these experiences, like you also said, they're really important for people, like right up there with like giving birth to their children or having children and finding your spouse and these kind of cornerstone moments of your life.
Mhm.
They're right up there with them. So if you can kind of cherish them, anchor them, and then also really integrate them and see what they actually say, instead of being scared of them or pushing them down or packing them up neatly and putting them in a closet.
Yeah.
You could actually really learn from them and also help other people with them. If you can accept the implications of them, which is, I guess, the hard part for most people, just being raised in this system and this society. We have to conform to a degree. Um, well, less so now, I think, thanks to our work and I guess social media also to a great extent.
Yeah. And I just feel like the more people talk about it and the more people actually like do research and put out articles about these experiences, then it just like gets the ball rolling to normalize them and to just like bring comfort, because I feel like that's the greatest mission, is to just let people know that they're okay and that yeah, these experiences should be cherished and they're special. And like even with the Death Is Not the End project, that's their whole mission, is to just take away the taboo from death and dying and what happened, like just talking about it, because again, 90% of these experiences are just filled with love and light, and it's beautiful. And I feel like we should talk about them because it's cool and it just makes everyone happy. But
Yeah, that's good that you brought it up. I almost forgot about it, but I actually wanted to shout out this project also, which is SMN's newly launched website, deathisnotend.com, which is basically a collated, resource or a place of or library of resources regarding research and all kind of wisdom and practical information regarding death and all these phenomena around it, which kind of verify a lot what these mystery traditions have been telling us and give us a better context that we usually get from our upbringing or culture or the system, so to speak, society at large. So go check it out if you're interested. Also, I want to plug any work that you're doing, any pages you are kind of working on and with, but I also want to hear about your kind of plans for the near future or maybe longer term future also. But before we kind of jump into closure, are there any kind of more interesting to you implications that have already kind of arisen from your research? I know you're halfway there, but are there some kind of nuggets that you can share from it? Something you're working on right now, maybe?
so right now I'm working on phase 2 of my 3-phase study. That's my PhD. The first phase, we did a survey to just map out the prevalence of ADCs, and then childhood. We framed it as childhood imaginary friends that maybe encounters with deceased relatives or friends,
Mm-hmm.
just because it was a representative sample survey. So it went out to or like just anyone in the UK. We got back 2,100 responses. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty big sample, which is exciting because a lot of previous studies weren't representative. And it was mainly just people who wanted to take the survey. So now we can see how these experiences come up, and belief versus experience versus modality impact
Mm-hmm.
sense itself in the general population, which
So not only parapsychology, but also kind of transpersonal psychology. Also, how it affects our transformation and forming as an individual.
yeah, so we got some really great responses from that, which I'm excited to publish at some point. But we kind of put that on the back burner because there is I forgot what journal it's in, but Donna Thomas and Mark Whitman, they are two well, they're not parapsychologists, but they study exceptional human experiences. Donna Thomas is the pioneer for childhood research with exceptional experiences. She's amazing. Her work is great. And her and him are editors, and they're doing like parapsychology consciousness study edit for a journal. So they're doing qualitative research in these experiences. So I'm trying to get that paper done. So right now I've been working on the qualitative responses that were gathered from, it's a different research group called ADCRP that I'm a part of, and they have been running a survey in Spanish, English, French, German, Chinese, and Dutch. So an international survey.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, asking people about their ADC experiences. And there's like 2,000 responses. So I've been digging through those, looking for the childhood cases in French, Spanish, and German. So I've just been coding and doing a thematic analysis on those qualitative responses to then try and submit that to see, hopefully, if that can make it into a journal in June. June is when I have to submit it. So I've just been working really hard on that. I just got ethical approval. So I'm like, a lot of work to do.
I saw dread in your eyes.
Yeah, but it's fun because it's a push, and I'm just gonna be grinding for the next couple months writing this paper. But it's just hearing people. I'm just listening to people's fun little ghost stories. So, and picking out the themes in those. So that's what I've been doing. I also am a co-author on, so Kate Adams, she's a researcher in child spirituality and children's spiritual experiences. So she did the same thing with the ADCRP responses, but she looked through the English ones at childhood experiences. So she wrote an amazing paper on that, and I'm really grateful because she really taught me a lot, and we'd have like meetings, and she's just an amazing human. So I'm co-author on that, and she submitted that to a journal like last week. So hopefully that will be coming out soon. Yeah. And then I also am co-author on another paper with James Matlock and Dieter Hassler. I don't know if I pronounced that right, but we were looking at imaginary friends, just strictly imaginary friends, being a deceased person. So he submitted that to the International Transpersonal Journal, ITKS, I think, back in January. So we haven't heard anything back from that, but hopefully that's. And then last thing I'm doing is I've been helping run Gansfeld experiments to test precognition between vegetarian, vegans, and meat eaters. I'm just running the experiments because it's this other guy, Michael Dawes, PhD, and he submitted it to the journal, and he had 40 people, And then they came back and was like, no, you need 80. So you need to double all of this.
Oh
So
wow.
he asked for some help for running the experiments. I was like, yeah, I'll help.
Mm-hmm.
But I,
Also, really, really interesting subject. I mean, I also have personal experience regarding diet and precognition, or let's say sensory perception, and enhancing that for sure.
yeah. So I've been like learning how to run the Gansfeld experiments, which is fun. I will be co-authoring on that as well, which will be, we still have like 10 more people to get in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so it's kind of a lot. Most of them are in the same field with
Mm-hmm.
children experiences, but
Well, for sure, share me the links when you do get published. I'm having fingers crossed for you.
thank you.
And maybe you don't have something written down yet, but what's your kind of a longer term plan? What you want to study or kind of specialize in? Is it, I mean, we talked about it a little bit already. Is it children, ADCs, or what's your kind of vision or mission?
Yeah, so I really want to work at a university. I really like teaching. So, and I've been teaching parapsychology at University of Northampton and transpersonal, and then randomly I've been teaching quantitative research methods, which is not my strong suit, but I'm like, okay, or sociology too. So I'm like, really, it's not my thing, but it's been really fun. And I really want to teach in America, especially because there's not a lot of parapsychology or consciousness study courses in the States, which is why I came here.
Mhm.
So I really want to teach, and I also want to continue on doing research, not necessarily in childhood experiences or ADCs. I just want to kind of be open. I really want to look at meditation and
Mhm.
these experiences as well, because I feel like that's how my abilities opened, was through meditating. So I want to see if like, I'm pretty sure that there's an effect. I think there's been other studies done, but
Mhm.
that's
Yeah, they're usually wellness oriented,
yeah.
just physical and mental kind of wellness.
Mhm.
But well, the thing is, in these fields, we understand that the effects go much deeper. That the rabbit hole is a lot deeper
Yeah,
than medicine maybe portrays.
exactly. And with parapsychology, we love dumping down the rabbit holes and looking at the things that most psychologists or scientists don't want to look at. So, um, yeah. So we'll see where I land. I'm pretty open, but I do know I want to teach this stuff and I want to continue on my research in exceptional experiences. So I'm just letting God, source, universe guide me to wherever that's at and just trust in that.
Mhm. Well,
We'll see.
Godspeed, Godspeed and tailwind,
Yeah.
and well, for sure, we are very very happy to have you here on board with the new Paradigm Navigators.
Well, thank you. It's been so amazing being a part of the group and like meeting you, and everyone else is so amazing, and just having these conversations are so special. So I am very thankful and grateful that I can be a part of this group and learn from all of you and just have these fun,
Hmm.
open, safe conversations. So,
Yeah, it's really fun. It's just so often I'm just noticing myself in the situation of just having a normal conversation or working on some project we're doing, and just realizing that, hey, this is my everyday life. Just speaking with these people, and everyone is working on so cool subjects and topics, and issues, both kind of mission wise, but also just the content of it, and then everyone is so different also. More like some are more like in practicing, some are more academic, some are kind of more in the arts section or IT, and then others are more in psychology or are working with people. So I'm really, really, really excited for the future of this project, and also everyone in this group and this group together as well. So yeah, thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. I hope you get your papers published. I hope you have kind of tenacity and energy to complete your research and also land somewhere where you can really serve with your heart and have a nice balance with work and life.
Oh, thank you. Well, thank you for having me and being an amazing host. And asking so many
Stop it.
and I also loved hearing about your experiences as well. Um, yeah, that's just always the best part is hearing from others and just like how special it was. And yeah, so thank you as well for sharing and chatting and having me. It's been fun.
Yeah, you're a modern day Ghostbuster. We should do a little sticker for you.
That's so funny.
Ghostbuster, but in science kind of white attire.
Yeah. Like that's what's so fun about this stuff is because like yeah, like we're doing the research, but it's also like on ghosts or like seeing the future or remote viewing. Like that's so cool. So yeah, it doesn't really feel like research or anything boring because
Mm.
again, I'm just like reading ghost stories all day, which is a fun thing to do. Well, for me, it is. But yeah, I like it.
Well, thanks for giving people the space, the safe space to share them. That's something I feel that, well, from my own experience, which is a lot smaller than yours, but as a researcher, it's kind of a sacred role at least in this field or psychology, or you'll be hearing stories that people will tell you that they haven't shared with anyone,
Yeah.
and you kind of see the
Hmm.
healing, just quintessentially human effect of that, uh, and it's such a win-win, and especially still remaining objective,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
but also loving or really appreciating doing that or hearing those stories. So it's a beautiful thing, um, and I love to be surrounded by such people who, I guess that's also a dream come true from me, to meet and be surrounded by people who are really doing what they love, however crazy it is, which it is a lot of the cases. So thank you again, and also thanks for co-hosting last time, our episode with Simon Duan. I'd be thrilled to have you again in that position too, if you have time, of course, next to your research commitments.
Mhm. Yes, I loved it. I love learning from Simon. He's a great human. That's what I've been noticing, like the pattern with all of the researchers I've met from like going to conferences or just like being in spaces is that everyone is so nice and very humble. Even like the top researchers, like neuroscientists who come in, physicists, like there's a guy who worked at CERN particle, except like and now he's doing like parapsychological research and everyone is so nice and open and like they want to learn from each other, like they're not just like, oh, this is my thing, I'm not going to learn from anyone else. Like that's what's also so cool about this field is that no one, like, the whole ego thing is not there, which is pretty amazing to feel that and be like, oh, I'm just starting. You've been doing this research and you've been a doctor and a surgeon for the past 30 years, but you want to listen to me? Like, you're nice to me? Like, that's just so cool. And I feel very grateful to be in a space where everyone supports each other, everyone wants to build each other up, because we all just want to do good research and help people and learn more about consciousness. So it's very rare.
Mhm.
It's
Well,
very,
what could also be more humbling than, every day basically hearing stories that would shatter, well, basically everything you have been taught up to a point in our life. It's yeah,
yeah,
if this is a game, then it's a really open-ended kind of open sandbox game. You just, like, the rabbit hole doesn't end, and at the same time it is super meaningful, all of these little steps that we make and take in research and in science, I guess.
yeah, definitely. It's all very meaningful. And that's the point, because it should be. But yeah.
All right. Thank you for the last time. And to meaningful lives, I guess. Yeah, thank you to all the listeners also. Really appreciate you. And please join us in our events. They're all free. And the school platform as well. You can come have a chat with us. You can post questions. You can suggest guests, and just some of these, interviews, podcasts. We also kind of do live and have Q&As. So I hope to, and we hope to, meet you and see you there and have great conversations. All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.